It's the Dep Lewis Show. The Dep Lewis Show. It's the Dep Lewis Show. It's the Dep Lewis Show. The Dep Lewis Show. It's the Dep Lewis Show. It's the Dep Lewis Show. The Dep Lewis Show. It's the Dep Lewis Show.
Welcome to the Dep Lewis Show, episode 62. This is your host, Dep Lewis, and today is Sunday, January 14th, 2024. A great day to do a podcast and talk about video games. You know, what video games I'm playing, what video games I'm seeing, maybe some news, and then talk about some miscellaneous talk at the end. So, great day for all of that, I would say. So, welcome to the show. Hope you're doing great out there, whatever you're doing while listening to this podcast. You could be watching football, you could be cleaning your house, you could be playing video games, you could be riding a motorcycle, you could be flying in an airplane, you could be going for a run, you could be walking your dog. So, I hope you're doing great out there. I hope you're being safe and having fun and all that kind of good stuff. So welcome to the Dep Lewis Show. So let me just tell you some information here at the top. If you can help me out a little bit more than just listening, please follow Dep Lewis Show everywhere. Like, subscribe, rate, comment, review, turn on notifications, tell a friend, email any questions or feedback to DepLewisShow@gmail.com. That email box is open 24/7, 365. You can send an email through there. It might possibly get read on the show. Full episodes of Dep Lewis Show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, YouTube, Patreon, and more on my Buzzsprout page. So basically anywhere podcasts are available. Clips are on YouTube and TikTok. Twitch.tv/DepLewisShow is a great place to follow. And then Patreon.com/DepLewisShow is the ultimate place to follow for a second weekly podcast exclusive to Patreon called the Dep Lewis Freestyle Show. So more about that at the end. So that's a carrot on a string. You're going to want to listen to the whole episode. And at the end, you're going to get this great Patreon information that you really, really want. So that is, what a tactic here on the Dep Lewis Show. So today's show is going to be a regular show. We have our 3 sections. The first section is going to be what video games I've been playing in the last week since I've talked to you. The mid section will be what video game news I'm seeing, what video game releases are coming up, just all the cool happenings of the video game world in the last week. I'm here to summarize them for you and tell you what I think is cool. And then the final section of the show, I can talk about anything I want to outside the video game world. And this week, I'm going to tell you a little bit about a book I am reading, and then also get into the worldwide world of sports, as I like to do in the Miscellaneous Talk section. So that is the plan today for the show, and I really hope it will be a great one. That's the whole plan. So, hopefully you're not freezing out there in the world. I'm trying to think of some other just general things going on. It's been pretty cold. Weather talk is always very interesting and what you always want to hear about. But if you walk outside and you shiver, say the Dep Lewis Show told you so. It's pretty cold. But we got some football going on today. It's pretty exciting. There's some NFL football going on, the playoffs, and just a great day for a podcast. So let's get into it. One last thing, notes from last show. I'm trying to produce a really high level podcast here with great sound and get all the best information in your brain, from my brain to yours. And just things I've seen, I'm telling you about and think are cool. That's the plan. But watch my ands and my ums and my mic noises. I got to do better at this and slow down in general. It's probably good advice. I tell myself this every show, so hopefully it's somehow helping, consciously or subconsciously. And then watch for the you-knows and the ands and the ums. I start, listening to people talk now and, judging them a little more harshly, or not judging them, but noticing things. After I start doing it, I'm like, okay, he's doing an and and an So it's not the worst thing in the world, but I'm trying to do better. That's the whole plan. So let's see here. Let's get into the video games. So what have I been playing in the last week? I want to, I guess it's a eulogy a little bit for this video game. I think I've completed it officially. I'm all the way done. I've pumped all the juice out of it. I've juiced it. I've squeezed all the juice out of the orange or whatever. There's got to be some really clever phrase to say, but this game, I think I'm officially done. So Forza Motorsport, shout out to you. You were the second best game of the year for 2023, and I believe that is a very strong position. It was an argument to get you to number 1, but Zelda held strong, and I still have a good bit of Zelda to play. So I think that was a good decision, even though I enjoyed every second I had with Forza Motorsport. I wish there was more. And I can't say enough good things about it, really. But I think I'm officially done with this game. There's no more races I can do unless I sell some cars or buy some credits or something. And that's only for the rotating series. So there's one rotating series. I don't have enough cash to buy a car to do the race. So I could get into selling some of my cars and completing this race, but then I'm going to be in the same situation for the next one, and I'm going to end up selling all my cars and be down to nothing. So it's really just a good point to probably stop unless there's some more DLC in this game, or I wanted to get into the multiplayer. I did want to check out the achievements on the multiplayer. I don't normally try that, but I'm pretty much trying to think of another way to get some more gameplay out of this. But this is I've been noticing this is something I do with these Forza games. I will complete them, or finish as much as I would like to. Usually just all the main single player story stuff, and then I will keep going back into the game like something's magically going to appear that I want to do. So I need to quit doing that with this game. I think I just really am a little bit sad when these are over, because they're so much fun. They're really great podcasting games, and that is something that is really nice to have. So the thought is maybe to play some other racing games. Go back and play some older Forzas. I don't know. I've played most of them, so I don't really have anything too new to play. The real argument is trying Gran Turismo 7. I never played Gran Turismo. I'm more of a Forza person in general, but I've never really tried Gran Turismo, so could be something I try. Do I try other racing games? Do I just try having a racing game going at all times? Different kinds. Maybe that is something to think about, and I'm thinking about that live on this show, because they are pretty perfect for playing podcasts or listening to podcasts, and that's something I like doing a whole lot. But Forza Motorsport, it's on Game Pass, really great Xbox exclusive, and I guess you can play some of the older ones on PC now, but this one I don't think is even you're able to play on Steam Deck or anything yet. But I just want to say this was a really great game. I think I'm officially done. Hopefully I won't go back into the menu or re-download it anytime soon, because there's nothing new, but I'm going to be looking out for some more information about it, maybe some DLC. And then I'll also be looking for the next, I guess, Forza Horizon game. Hopefully we'll get that this year. That'd be nice. I don't know if we're set to do that, but that's something I want to take away and look into and see if there's any information on when that's coming next, or the speculation of when that would be, because if that comes out next holiday season, I'm going to be pretty happy about that. So we will see. But Forza Motorsport, great game. I bid you adieu. I say goodbye to you. I say thank you. I tip my hat to you. I lower a flag at half-mast. What else can I do for you? I can have a moment of silence. Let's do that. A moment of silence for Forza Motorsport being a great game, and I don't really have much left. I don't have anything left I can play in it, which is sad. I don't really want to replay all the races that I've done. So I think I've gotten, I finished first in all the series that I did. So we're just going to have a moment of silence for me not having this game to play anymore. All right, so we're back. Thank you for enjoying that moment of silence for Forza Motorsport. Really great game. All right, let's get into the next game that I'm also enjoying that is worthy of a moment of silence too, but we're going to quit that train right now. But this game I'm playing, I would say I'm getting close to the final quarter of this game, possibly, which is impressive for me since I am, infamous for not finishing video games, but I am playing Marvel's Spider-Man 2 on PlayStation 5, and I'm making a little bit of a point to progress in this game, and I want to finish it because it's a really, really awesome game. It got a great position on the Dep Lewis Show Game of the Year list last year. I believe it was number 4. Please don't quote me. I think it was in the top half, but really deserving game. I am hitting around the 30-hour mark, and I've looked at the list of main story missions, and I think I'm definitely more than halfway through, so I'm really making some progress here, which is nice. I've done most of the side missions on the map, so I don't really have too much to do there. There's a few things I could do, but the majority of each side mission I've completed, when they become available, and that's just something I want to shout out again. On this show is the way they roll out the side missions on here is unparalleled. I guess that's the word, to other video games. It's just really good, or unmatched, because they will introduce a side mission to you in a semi-organic way, and then you'll have them available on the map. And then usually you'll want to go complete them, or normally I do. I'll just go knock them all out in a row because they're so fun to do, and they're a great activity to do while listening to a podcast as well. And then you'll complete them. You won't necessarily have any more markers on your map for a side mission, but as you progress through the story a little more, some more story sort of relevant side missions come into the game for you to complete. So basically, it's given them to you in portions, which is really cool. And so it allows you. And I was thinking to myself, what if I haven't done the majority of these? I'd still have them to do right now, which would totally be fine. So it's a really cool element. But I have been keeping up with them for the most part. So basically, whenever I'm going to play this game right now, I'm trying to push the story. So I think that's probably going to be the case for me for the rest of this game for the most part. I don't know if they'll introduce any more side missions with, how close I'm getting towards the end. So that's something I've really been enjoying, the back and forth between having some story stuff and having some open world stuff. So, a little bit of this podcasting is me dialing in my, video game preferences and likes, and there's a lot here in Spider-Man that I like. I was looking, this is quickly becoming one of my most played PlayStation 5 games, PlayStation 4 games. You can track that through your profile on the PlayStation. And, I've completed the Miles Morales and the first Spider-Man, so pretty good trend. So, I'm not completely inept at finishing games. I'm just very picky, apparently, and, that's the way I'm going to spin it in my head, besides just me being bad at finishing games. I just need to be more selective, and that's what I'm trying to get at in this year of what I'm playing. So Spider-Man 2 is my goal to finish this game. Would be really, really great, and I'm enjoying all my time with it. Let's see, I have some notes. So side missions, the chasing the bird drones was so much fun. I have some footage of that I'm going to be showing and posting a clip of. It was just so cool and unexpected because you use the web wings for this side activity, and you get to use it for everyone. And you're also normally you're web winging around the city, and sometimes you can hit an updraft, or you can hit I don't know what they call it. It's just like wind flowing in one central way, and they'll have it going through the streets, and you can it's like catching a wave a little bit. But on these side missions, they have like a never-ending tunnel until you get to the end of the mission that allows you to keep flying. So just extra cool. Web wings are one of the best part about this game. And having a whole side mission, it was real easy to want to go do those immediately. And I decided I wanted to capture some footage of that specifically because I was like, this is so cool. So I hooked up the Elgato and got some footage. So really, really neat. Look at Spider-Man. You have to dodge a little bit. You can get hit, you can get off track, but for the most part, you're trying to judge a little bit beforehand of where you're going to go, and not try to oversteer or understeer, because you'll lose the flow. So just really, really cool. So I wanted to, side missions, really A+ side missions in this game. And also, all right, another thing I wrote, some very touching missions in this game. Amongst the whole thing, there's some missions which are really cool, and they're not necessarily combat focused or puzzle focused. There was just a mission where Miles talks to Harry and brings up something about his dad, or talks to someone about missing a parent, and Miles can relate because his dad died, and he goes, okay, yeah, well, it's a good time. I want to go visit his dad's grave. So you just swing over to the cemetery, you visit the grave. Miles says some nice things. He has a nice little memory in a moment, and then the end of the mission goes and it says completed. So just a really nice touch. They had that mission earlier in the game where he meets the guy overlooking the water and watching the boats, and then he passes away, but he spent that last moment. So, and then there's probably a few more even, but the mix of the missions in this game is really cool. And I'm talking about these heartwarming or touching ones, but there's also some just interesting ones where you're walking around a cool place, or you're walking around the museum, or walking around a carnival, or all sorts of stuff. So this game does it's an A+ of a video game. It's really, really amazing, and all the things it's doing. None of it stays too long. All the core of this, the nuts and bolts of this game, are all really amazing. The combat is extra fun. I really do enjoy just busting in on the combat and just fighting everybody for the most part. I do some stealth. Sometimes I'll go on a stealth kick, but it is just fun having the big group of enemies to fight and handling them all. And just really, 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 really fun. So let's see. Very touching missions. Miles visits his dad. Chasing the lizard around town has been fun. The lizard is on the loose, causing havoc. Martin Lee's out there. Craven, Miles, and Haley have their back and forth. So Miles and Haley have their budding romance. Miles is very busy, and Haley's busy too with her artistic work. That's a pretty cool story in here. So you're getting to see some different relationships, Miles and Haley, and then you're getting to see Peter and MJ, as always. And Peter's going through it right now. He's got the Venom powers, and he's sounding a little bit like Batman, is what I was noticing. He was just talking more stern and not saying much. And then he has a mission where he hasn't really been inviting Miles to help him, And then Miles does join to help him, and because MJ called him. Well, no, that's not what happened. I think Peter actually called him that time. But he goes to help him, and Peter talks to MJ after and says, hey, Miles was slacking on this mission, or he messed up. What's up with this? And she's like, dang, he was coming to help you. And Peter's like, it doesn't matter. I have a mission to complete. So he was even being like short with MJ. He's not really talking to Miles that much. So he is going through it right now. He's trying to help Harry. He wants Harry to, he knows there's a kind of a clock on, things going bad for Harry. So he's trying to find Dr. Connors as quick as he can, and Dr. Connors is on the loose. So, the mix of villains in this game is really, really cool. You have all these epic fights. I haven't found anything to be annoying or too difficult. So this game, right up my alley. Really, really big fan of this. And what else? I mean, Spider-Man 2 is an awesome game. I'm hopefully going to be making some more progress this week. Hopefully it'll be the next game that I finish. I'm pretty close to finishing this and one other game that I might talk about a little bit at the end of this section, but for the most part, this is my main game right now, and I'm a huge fan of it. Spider-Man 2, Marvel Spider-Man 2, really great game that I'm continuing to play right now. Alright, so the next thing I played in the past week that I want to talk about that came out is the Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown demo. So the Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown comes out on January 18th, I believe. I think you can be playing it right now if you have maybe the PC version, or if you're a member of like Ubisoft Plus. I think there's a way to, if you subscribe to that, I think there's a way you can be playing it right now. So if you're listening to this podcast in real time and really want a way to play this game right now, I think you can. So go check that out. And then also you can play the demo if you just want to play that. So I did play some of the demo. I have a lot of I have good thoughts about the demo. And I'm also, I talk about trying to dial in my gaming habits. I don't know ultimately if this is something I need to play, but I'm really liking, I'll tell you what I like about it. So I played this on the PlayStation 5. The graphics look amazing. I took some screenshots, in the maybe 30 minutes of it I played. I took numerous screenshots, which I noticed myself doing when I'm really into a game. Marvel Spider-Man 2, I've been taking tons of screenshots. But this game, it looks great. The characters are cool. And then the combat is awesome. It feels kind of like Dead Cells a little bit, but it just feels like a more, more of like a AAA, not to call Dead Cells not a AAA, but it just seems like a very, very polished combat system and fighting and movement and all the, you have a bow, you have the other thing that you can knock stuff with. The jumping is fun. You can wall jump. There's like a, jump in the air and you can burst forward in the air and cross channels. It's really, really cool movement stuff and very fun. This game is a Metroidvania, so that basically means, if you don't know, you're getting to areas that you're not able to unlock until you go to another area and do something or get a specific item to unlock that. So the whole game is about exploring. It's about possibly getting to a section that you're not actually able to achieve at that moment, so you need to go the other way, and hopefully you'll find something else that will help you out in that section, sort of thing. So one thing I did notice, so I don't think I've ever beaten a Metroidvania game, so that is something where I definitely own a good bit of them, like Hollow Knight. I own Metroid Dread. What else is like a Metro? Ori and the Blind Forest. I have that game. I've played a lot of Metroidvanias, but I haven't completed any of them. So that is something, noticing my habits, I probably don't need to, try to play this. I would want to complete some other Metroidvania to prove it to myself. But, the argument for this is, I was watching Nextlander do a video of playing this game, and they bring up that there is a guided mode in this. So the guided mode, you can choose between adventure mode and guided mode. And guided mode will give you an icon on the map of where you need to go. So I was like, man, that's a pretty good argument and pretty helpful way for me to play this game and be able to. But some of the fights they were doing, fighting some big bosses that kind of look complicated, might not be my style. So I'm a little bit on the fence about this game for the most part, but it is definitely very enticing to want to buy. It's $49.99, so it's not a US dollar, so it's not a full price release. So that's pretty nice too. And then I'm also hearing, I think I heard one person say you could take around 25 hours to complete this game. So it's not necessarily short either. So it seems like a really great value. Been hearing all sorts of positive things about it across podcasts and reviews and things like that. So if you were looking for a game to start your year with, it seems like Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown might be a really great one. And, a lot of people are saying that it's the best game to start the year, the first best game of the year, that kind of stuff. Everyone's pretty excited about this, and it doesn't seem like hyperbole. And if you want to go check it out, I think you should. And, if I continue to play any more of this, I'll definitely tell you about it here on the Dep Lewis Show. So the last thing I want to mention, just a few other games I've been playing. I've been playing Super Mario RPG. I haven't played much later on in the week, but I did make some progress earlier in the week. Not really enough to talk about it. I'm getting pretty close to the end of that game. I think I'm getting close to the 6th star, and really loving that game. And that's pretty much my goal on my Switch of something I want to complete. And then I also picked up last night, re-picked up some Fire Emblem Engage, and had some pretty good success there. I am on chapter 18. That's where I was a little bit stuck. It was a fight against Lyndon, which is really cool because that's the main character from Will White's Cradle series. And Lyndon was my nemesis in this game. I was not able to beat this mission. Whenever I put this game down, whenever it came up and I started playing next, I was stuck on this Lyndon mission. I failed it a few times. I picked it up yesterday and I was like, okay, I'm going to try to get back into this and play it again. And I played it handheld and it was awesome. And I think I died once and had to rerun the mission. And then I was able to use the rewind feature in battle, kind of like Forza. So a little bit of a same, some crossover and some series I really like. But I was able to use the rewind function to, re-strategize what I did. And I only had I'm trying to quit saying a handful. That's something I noticed myself saying a lot. Now I'm calling myself out, so just to put it out there. But I was saying numerous today too. But you got to think of new words here when you're podcasting. But but I was able to rewind and figure out how to do it with only a few people. And it came down to I had the thief. I think his name's Kolkov or something like that. But him and the Divine Dragon were all I had left, and I defeated the mission. And I'm moving on to chapter 19, and pretty exciting stuff. So I'm a little bit back into Fire Emblem Engage. I've still been playing some Vampire Survivors. I have some Vampire Survivors news in the midsection for you this week. And I've really just been trying to figure out my games. I don't really have any new releases to shoot for quite yet, besides Prince of Persia possibly. We have The Last of Us Remastered coming out. We have Tekken 8 coming out, and then we have Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. But I don't know if I'm going to be committing to playing any of those. The Last of Us Remastered I'm definitely going to poke around with, but I don't know if I'm going to try to do a run of that game. But I want to see the roguelite addition to that game, and I also want to see just what it looks like, and just be back in the Last of Us world a little bit, because that is my favorite game of all time. So these have been the games I've been playing in the last week. I'll be back next week to tell you about the same thing. I won't be talking about any more Forza Motorsport, I don't think. So we had our moment of silence for that. Really great game. Number 2 best game of the year for 2023, and very deserving. We talked about Marvel Spider-Man 2. That's the main game I'm making progress on right now and wanting to finish. We talked about the Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown demo that I played on PS5. Then we also talked about, a few other games I'm playing, like Fire Emblem Engage. What else? I've been playing The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom some too. I've been playing some Vampire Survivors, and Super Mario RPG was the other one. So, I got a lot of great games. There's a lot of great games out in the world. I know I would say almost infinite, like an infinite wealth, like a game coming soon. But this is going to wrap up the first section of this show. You're going to hear some lovely break music, and then we're going to come back for the mid-section of this show, where I tell you, what I've been seeing across the video game world, the video game landscape. And let's see, we have some news, we have some rumors, we have some shows you want to watch coming up, and then we're going to talk about some games. So the midsection is going to be great, so go take a quick break and come back after this music. Welcome back to the midsection of the best show you'll ever know, the Dep Lewis Show, episode 62, and this is the midsection where I talk about what I've been seeing across the video game world. So everything in the last week that I've seen pop up that I think is interesting and want to tell you about, so that is what I'm here to do. So, get your video game information hats on, because it's coming at you hot, this video game information. So the first thing I want to talk about this week are some layoffs. There's layoffs all the time right now across a lot of different industries, but the video game industry has been getting hit hard with some layoffs. I just want to bring that up here on the show. talk about all the fun video game stuff, but sometimes you got to sprinkle in some of the harsh reality going on in the video game world as well. So there's been some layoffs at Twitch, the great streaming platform. They've laid off over 500 members of staff, equaling around 35% of the workforce. So that is a significant decrease, and just, condolences to all those people losing their job. And, all you can say is you hope they land on their feet, but, just sad to see that. So hopefully they will find some employment or whatever they need to succeed. The Twitch CEO, Dan Clancy, states, "We aren't profitable at this point." So that is the reason for these cuts. They've also said we need to make sure Twitch is the right size so that we can be here for a long time. So that is the same thing you hear. It's like the worldwide playbook right now from a lot of these companies. And Clancy says, he says right here, "This is not unique to Twitch. In fact, it's quite common for tech companies to size their organization thinking about where they might be in 3 to 4 years." Blah, blah, blah. No one who loses their job is going to feel happy about that excuse, but this is the way these things work. Whether or not that is right is probably the question here, and it's definitely poor planning. You want to put that on Dan Clancy, and you want to put that on these executives that are running the company. It's poor planning for sure when you have to lay off this amount of people. And sorry, one second, let me make sure my recording is still going okay. And getting into Dan Clancy, you should put a little onus on the people running these companies for not being the right size and having to do this, abrupt movement and just kind of chalking it up to that's the tide of the industry or how things are flowing. It's just a bad look, but hopefully Twitch will, I don't know what to say. I like streaming on Twitch sometimes. I watch a good bit of Twitch, I guess. And just sad to see that, you think Twitch would be making a lot of money just from the outside looking in. You think they wouldn't really have these problems of being profitable. So it just kind of makes you want to wonder what's going on under the hood. They're blaming it here on having, too many cooks in the kitchen, that they need to reduce these salaries that they're paying for, superfluous reasons, or different sectors of the business they no longer need. But, you just really kind of wonder what's going on underneath this. And, who knows? But, Twitch layoffs, want to highlight those, unfortunately. And, just the main thing, hopefully those people will find some employment or whatever they need to be successful in life. All right, so Twitch layoffs, always sad to see. But let's move on to some more video game news. So, video game happenings. So there's been a lot of Nintendo Switch 2 rumors. Been talking about this on the show for the last few weeks, I guess. And, over the course of the last year, there's been some speculation, but there's been I'm just kind of basically gathering all the things I hear. There's some people are what's the word? Predicting a September release date. So September 2024 release date for the Switch 2, whatever it's going to be. We've heard it's possibly going to be $400. I've heard one outlet, I think it was NVC, talking about the clamshell could come back. Is that possible? And it made me think, you could have a clamshell, possibly, because you could, when you close the clamshell, you could possibly place it in the dock then. And then if you want to open it up and play it, you could have the sort of like 3DS style handheld more so. So I don't know. That could be a thing. They did say one person's rumoring there could be some more bells and whistles along with this. So maybe the second screen could be something there. A lot of people love the 3DS. I've been thinking about recently busting my 3DS back out. And I've been watching a lot of YouTube channels about like old handheld consoles recently. So if you're interested in that, go check out some YouTube videos. But, maybe I'll talk about some of that in the future. I've been watching people go buy old Game Boys and old systems. And I've been looking into things like the Analog Pocket and all sorts of cool stuff out there in the world. But, the Switch 2 rumors, there's been, is there going to be backwards compatibility? That's a big question. And then one question I heard, I think it was Nextlander brought this up this week. Are you going to be able to play Switch 2 games on Switch 1 at all? And I think that's a pretty good question, because is it going to be like Xbox, where games were released on Xbox Series X and S, and also Xbox One for a while, or PS4 to PS5? So that was something I never really thought about. Are there going to be games that bridge the gap? How's Nintendo going to handle this? It's a really great question, and something that it'd be nice to know sooner than later, because that's a pretty big question. I think it's looming over the release of this system pretty heavily, and something that people want to know. So let us know, Nintendo. I think the rumors are, or the speculation is, there will be a Direct in February or March. I think February is usually when they have them. If history is going to repeat itself, I think that's what it is, but we should be expecting something pretty soon. And they're talking about it's going to have PS4 level technology. So, any upgrade on the technology, Nintendo usually makes most of with what they're working with, so there's not really too much of a worry there. But the upgrading technology will be nice and hopefully help out their game development. So talking about a Nintendo Direct, Xbox has announced a developer direct coming January 18th at 3 p.m. Eastern. So that is coming up next week. I think it's next. Yeah, well, no, I don't know what day of the week it is. I think it's Thursday at 3 p.m. I think that's the same day Prince of Persia comes out. But this is going to be an exciting look at some of the incredible games ahead with Xbox. So presented by the game creators themselves, Developer Direct offers an in-depth look at upcoming titles, how they're being created, and who's creating them. So they say, we'll visit Machine Games in Sweden to check in on their Indiana Jones game. That's the one I was seeing a lot of people talking about. Swing by Obsidian's Irvine office to see more from Avowed. Let's see. Sorry, guys. My iPhone's trying to connect. You got to turn the Bluetooth off before the podcast, and I did not do so. So it is coming back to mess with me right now. But so they're talking about at the Xbox Developer Direct, we'll visit Machine Games in Sweden to check in on their Indiana Jones game. Swing by Obsidian's Irvine office to see more from Avowed. Head to Oxide Games Maryland home to learn about, I think it's Aura, History Untold. And take a trip to Cambridge, England to see Senua's Saga, Hellblade 2 from Ninja Theory. Please note that while this show won't have updates on games from Activision Blizzard, you can look forward to news from those teams later this year. So I'll definitely be looking into this and watching this show possibly, but definitely checking on the news from it. And I don't really have too much interest in any of these games immediately. I don't think any of these would be surefire purchases day one, but I also don't know about some of these, so I'll be interested to see. And Xbox Developer Direct is coming January 18th, 2024. So if you're listening in real time, just 4 days away. All right, so moving on. Let's see here. Hold on one second, actually. I'm going to grab my phone. 1 second. Solve my issue right here in real time. Don't usually do these things on the show, but every day there's a new possibility for stuff going on. So let's see here, phone. You're going to quit causing me trouble. So that's a good tip. If you're doing a podcast, turn your Bluetooth off on other nearby devices, especially a phone if you're running GarageBand, because it likes to try to connect. So thank you for bearing with me during that. So we are going to continue with stuff going on around the video game world. So the next thing I want to talk about is a game that a new expansion was announced. Or let's see here. Really off the rails here right now. But I want to talk about this game that I'm hearing a lot about. We have gotten some new information on this game, on this new expansion. So that came out in this past week. So I want to talk about Final Fantasy 14. Something I've never played. I follow Sarah Pods online and watch her Twitch streams. She talks really highly of this game on those and on MinMax as well. This is a massively multiplayer online role-playing game for Microsoft Windows. It's developed and published by Square Enix. It was the original version of the 14th entry in the main Final Fantasy series and the second MMORPG in the series after Final Fantasy XI. So Dawn Trail is the next expansion coming to this incredibly popular, I like how they keep repeating this, massive multiplayer online role-playing game, MMORPG. Massive multiplayer online role-playing game. Since its official announcement back in July 2023 of Dawn Trail, details have been drip-fed from the developer Creative Business Unit 3 and the game's in-person fan festival events in Las Vegas, London, and most recently Tokyo. So that's the one that just happened. So there was a full cinematic trailer was revealed at the beginning of the Tokyo Fan Festival's keynote speech in January of 2024. So you can go watch that right now. I watched a little bit of Sarah Pods, talking over this this keynote. So in this game, there's going to be some new jobs, which are classes, main story, and raid combat. There's lots of unknowns because previous expansion Endwalker concluded a storyline that was over a decade in the making. So Final Fantasy 14 fans are seemingly very excited. There's a summer 2024 release window for Dawn Trail. You can play on PS5, PS4, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. So I was thinking this was PC only. So maybe I will look into some Final Fantasy 14 and just see what's going on with it, because it seems like there's a lot of good stuff here and possibly some great stuff. And then Square Enix's in-house creative business unit 3 development team is making this. So Final Fantasy 14, just wanted to kind of look into this game a little bit for my own knowledge. And there was some, new information coming out about this expansion this week. So just wanted to bring it up on the Dep Lewis Show midsection. All right, another game I want to talk about is a game that I love, and it is called Vampire Survivors. There's some speculation that there could be a PS5 port coming. I haven't really thought about that until recently, but I would really like that to happen, since I don't always like having, both consoles hooked up at the same time. And I have this on Switch as well, and I have it on Steam. So if it comes to PS5, I can actually own 1, 2, 3, 4 copies of this game and be sad about it in 0 ways. But they've also talked about that they are working on cross-platform saves. So that is something that is very exciting and enticing to me, because that is something I deal with a little bit now of, which version do I want to play. Sometimes I do like playing on my Xbox, but I like having the handheld. So you would think you want to make your Switch version the best one, but if they can add cross-platform saves, then I'll just have to determine which save I want to make my main one. So that'll be the tough decision there. But Vampire Survivors is a super fun game, and there is the Emergency Meeting DLC is out now. It's the Among Us crossover DLC and is out soon for Switch. So it's out on PC and Xbox, and it's coming soon to Switch. So that's what I wanted to tell you about on that. I haven't purchased this yet, but I plan on doing so. I believe it's only $1.99 US. And I heard Alex Navarro talking about it on Nextlander some, and he was having fun with it. And I have his general opinion that anything that they put out for this game is good, and it's a good value with how inexpensive that they charge you for it. So just a really great deal of Vampire Survivors as a whole. I recommend everyone in the world play Vampire Survivors. Go buy a copy right now, and you will enjoy yourself. All right, the last 2 things I want to talk about on this midsection of the show, where I'm telling you about video game news and video game happenings, we got 2 trailers this week. So I'm going to tell you about the 2 different games we got these trailers for, and I want to tell you to go watch the trailers, and I want to tell you a little bit about the game. So there's a game called Sandland coming out, and they have a release date trailer. So this game's coming out April 26, 2024. That's the bit of new information. So 4/26/24, and they say get ready to go beyond. The story expands far beyond the sand dunes. In the latest trailer, you'll be joined on your quest for the legendary spring by the mysterious mechanic Anne, set to explore more than you have bargained for. And pre-order now if you want to, is what I wrote. And I wrote LOL after that, because they always tell you to pre-order. Sometimes I tell you to pre-order. I watch Alana Pierce, Charlanazard, and she made a whole video saying that pre-ordering video games is dumb. And it just made me think that I never do pre-order video games. I used to back in the day, where you'd want to have a physical copy, and there would only be so many that would come into GameStop or something like that. So it just guarantees you having a copy, but I think her whole opinion is you don't want to give these developers your money beforehand for something you don't know how it's going to turn out. A lot of games these days release kind of in a broken state, so you can be giving them your money early and then still having to wait for the product to be fully fleshed out even after release date kind of thing. So I think I just never really heard the strong negative on the pre-orders, but I think it makes sense. But so I wrote pre-order now if you want to. I'm going to tell you that about the next game as well. But Sandland looks very cool. I'm definitely interested in it. It has one of the artists from Dragon Ball Z, or one of the main artists who created that, is creating the art in this, or helping, or has a heavy hand or something like that. But the art style is definitely the most standout thing from looking at this, and just hopefully this will be a great game. So it'll be something to look forward to in April of this year. And I don't really have too many games this year that I'm really, really hyped for. And this is one that I'm hyped for just based on the surprise from the release, the announcement of it. It looks so cool based upon the announcement, and I've been following it since then. But I really need to get together a list, and I've been meaning to go to, Game Informer has a great calendar of game releases set to come out for the year. So I need to figure out what I am going to buy, because I keep saying, hey, I don't think I really want to play this. I don't think this is my style. Hey, I don't think I need to get into this. But I need to kind of think about what I am going to play, so I can have some, some positive things to look forward to, instead of trying to nitpick my gaming habits. So I got to figure that out. I don't know if Sandland's in that category. I think it could be possibly the one tier below a definite purchase. I think it's like a definite and a maybe, possibly, and then a no. I think those are my kind of like general vibes when looking at a game. I think I fleshed that out at one point before, but that's kind of the same sentiment. So Sandland, release date trailer comes out April 26, 2024. Okay, the last game I want to talk about in this section is the Mario vs. Donkey Kong game that's coming out on Nintendo Switch. The official trailer is out right now, and they give you some details. This game is actually available on February 16th, 2023, and you can pre-order now if you want to. And this game has to fall in the, if it's definite, probably, maybe, and no. This would maybe be a maybe for me, I guess. Possibly a no. But I do love Mario. I do love Donkey Kong. I think this game just might be a little too puzzly for me, but I'm going to tell you about what they're wanting you to know about it. So the rivalry between Mario and Donkey Kong keeps getting bigger, and just when you think you found every key, solved every puzzle, and accounted for every stolen mini Mario, new discoveries await. This enhanced version of Mario vs. Donkey Kong offers over 130 levels and a 2-player mode that helps you and your friends tackle challenges in new ways. Also new to this version of the game are Merry Mini Land and Slippery Summit, 2 worlds full of new enemies and level themes with distinct play mechanics to keep you on your toes. And if your toes are up for it, you can unlock plus levels and expert levels as you play the game to further ramp up the mayhem with new gameplay wrinkles or added challenges. So they talk about a few things in there that are a little bit of a turn off to me, such as the challenges, puzzles, accounting for every stolen mini Mario, and new discovery. So I think this might be a game I have to appreciate from afar, but hopefully it's a decent remake and sells well and plays well. That's kind of my hopes for it, I guess. But Mario vs. Donkey Kong coming out February 16th, 2023. So I don't think there's any. That's the problem. I don't think I have any like giant like Zeldas or like Forzas or even Street Fighter from last year things, or Fire Emblem, things I was really looking forward to. But I really need to check the calendar out. But hopefully we'll be getting a lot of just good games, and hopefully some ones I want to try and that I'll actually end up liking a whole lot. So that is going to wrap up the midsection of this show. So we talked about the Twitch layoffs. We talked about the Switch 2 rumors. We talked about the Xbox Developer Direct coming up January 18th, 2024. So if you're listening in real time, just a couple days away. We talked about Final Fantasy 14 and the new Dawn Trail expansion that is coming. We talked about Vampire Survivors, Sandland, and Mario vs. Donkey Kong. So those are all the highlights of what's going on in the video game world from the past week. And, I'll be back next week to tell you about all the cool happenings of the video game world once again. So this is going to wrap up the midsection of this show. Going to take a quick break. You're going to hear some lovely music, and then we're going to come back for the final section of this show, which is where we switch from video games to talk about anything else we want to in the universe. So we're going to get into some book talk, and we're going to get into the worldwide world of sports. So that is the plan for the final section. So, go take a quick break. Go change your video game. Go make sure your shoe's tied if you're on a run. Go put your laundry, move it over to the dryer. Maybe pay attention on the road if you're driving. And just come back for the final section of this show after this music. Welcome back to the final section of the best show you'll ever know, the Dep Lewis Show, episode 62. This is the Miscellaneous Talk section. This is where I can talk about anything I want to outside the video game world. So the first thing I want to talk to you about is some book talk. So I like to use Goodreads to track my books for the year. I think I committed to reading 7 books this year. I think last year I read 9, so I'm taking it down a little bit, so hopefully something I can hit. But I have done this the last 3 or 4 years. I really enjoy it. Friend of the show, Pab, is a great book recommender, so just want to tell you some about the book happenings on this show. So the first book I've decided to read this year is a release from last year that I have been slacking on starting, and that is Defiant by Brandon Sanderson. So this is the final book in an epic series about a girl named Spencer who will travel beyond the stars to save the world she loves from destruction. So Spencer made it out of the nowhere, but what she saw in the space between the stars has changed her forever. So I've started reading this book. It's going to be the first book I complete for the new year. I think I have 4 or 5 books from last year that I have in the backlog that I want to read. So this is definitely the top tier of what I wanted to complete. So I'm just starting the year off with something I know I'm really going to enjoy. Spence is one of my favorite characters in the Sando universe, and I'm really just excited to read this. And I've started reading it, and I just want to say that Sando does a really great job in his sequels and in the beginning of a new book of highlighting what has happened, in the previous books in a smart, succinct way. So he does it really good of introducing just the key plot points and characters you haven't thought about in a little while, and just things like that, and happenings and locations. In the first chapter or two of the book, he does a really great job of reminding you of some things going on, and you immediately kind of fall back in love with what's going on. So I just am impressed with him doing that. He does it in every sequel that he does for the 90% of the time. I would say he does it that I can remember, or you can notice it, and he just does it really well. It's just and he doesn't do it too long, and then you're into the new story. So reading Defiant by Brandon Sanderson, book 1 of the year for 2024, and I'm going to keep you updated along the way as I do with what I complete, what I'm trying to read. I really need to get together a list of the books I intend to complete and the video games I intend to complete, and the video games that are coming out that I intend to purchase. So I need to look at some more forward-facing things as I go through this first month of the year and look at the video game calendar. And I don't know of too many book releases, but I do have a little bit of a backlog of things I want to complete there too. So I need to get my ducks in a row a little bit, I would say, for the new year. So I'll definitely be telling you more about that on the Dep Lewis Show as we go throughout the year. But book 1 of the year, Defiant by Brandon Sanderson, and go check out Goodreads. It's a great app to use to track some book reading, and that's what I'll be doing. All right, so let's get into the worldwide world of sports. That's the main thing I like to talk about in this Miscellaneous Talk section. I'm a fan of some specific teams, and I'm a fan of sports as a whole. So hopefully, you think like, hey, you're talking about the Panthers, you're talking about the Braves. Not everybody's going to be enjoying that, but I'm just a fan. I'm just talking about it. Maybe some of my fandom of my team will rub off to you, something way you can think about your team. I'm going to need to start talking about some sports as a whole, but I'm going to talk about what I know and what I like, and that is the Carolina Panthers. Some might say they're the worst team in the league. Some might say they're the worst franchise in professional sports. Some days I would agree with you, and other days, or most days, I am going to ride or die with these Panthers. So the end of the season last week, they lost to the Bucks. They got skunked again. They didn't put up any points. The game was at home in Charlotte. So last 2 weeks of the season, they put up 0 points. Just very, very disappointing. It could be the last time we see some players in uniform, or it is definitely going to be the last time. What are they going to do with the team after the offseason? I don't know. The GM, Scott Fitterer, was fired the Monday after, so there's a head coach vacancy and now a GM vacancy. There's a lot of talk about the interview process and what's going on with them. Another great resource for some sports talk during the week is the Dep Lewis Freestyle Show on patreon.com/DepLewisShow. So just want to throw that in there because I'm usually talking about some of these happenings midweek. But, now that the season's over, there's no telling what's going to be in the Freestyle Show. But so the Panthers lost to the Bucks to end the season. They won 2 games. Frank Reich won a game and Chris Tabor won a game. They had all their exit interviews. Brian Burns says he doesn't think he's the team's top priority right now. He thinks they have to get their head coach and their GM. All the things Brian Burns has said have been pretty perfect. He's not just lying and saying, hey, I want to be a Panther. He's not just lying and saying I'm ready to go elsewhere as a tactic. He's pretty much given out the vibe he wants to stay with the Panthers, but he also wants to get paid what he thinks he's worth. So it seems like he would give them a little bit of leeway, but how much. And then how much are they willing to pay? I don't know how close they are there. So a little bit worrisome for the Brian Burns extension talk. So we'll most likely see a franchise tag on him, but is he willing to play on the tag? I do not know. So we will see. So the other players, notable things I've seen at the end of the season, Jeremy Chin was talking about how he expected to be on the field every play. And I think he played, his lowest snaps he's ever has as a Panther. He was seemingly healthy. So I don't know what's up there. That I guess they just don't feel he fits into the scheme or something, or who knows. I really don't understand that one either. But I don't know if he'll be back next season. I'm trying to think of other Panther things. They don't have their first round pick. Talked about not having much hope. How many wins is realistic for the Panthers to be expecting next season? I was thinking 5. kind of bumping it up to, what would be a success. Maybe you need to get to 6 or 7, sort of have an outside shot at the division. I know these are kind of illusory hopes, but the Panthers have been really, really bad for a long time now, and they made some really bad decisions last offseason. I don't think a lot of their players progressed over the course of this season besides some of the defensive guys. I think you have some bad contracts. I think they have 6 picks next year, and they have 6 picks the following year. I think sometimes teams have 11 picks in a year, so they don't have a whole lot of picks in the stash. Next year they do have their first. So I don't know. It's just in a really bad spot right now. Who are you going to get as a head coach? There's been a lot of head coaching changes. So we've got Vrabel out there. He's gone from Tennessee. Pete Carroll's gone from the Seahawks coach. He might be an advisor there, but he also seems like he wants to still coach. Belichick and the Patriots have parted ways. Antonio Pierce is looking for a job. He's been interviewing, but Max Crosby wants him to stay in Vegas. He's saying he'll have a trade request if Antonio Pierce doesn't get the job. I think a lot of people will kind of be up in arms if Pierce doesn't get the job. And then the playoffs are going on right now. But the Panthers, I don't know. They talk about Ben Johnson being the head coach. I heard someone today say make Evero the head coach. Maybe I'd be a fan of that. I wish they made Steve Wilkes the coach last season. Maybe Evero is the chance to right the ship there. Make him the head coach. He has the defense playing lights out. And then get an offensive coordinator in there who can, call some plays. And I think, thinking of it on the show right now, I really like that solution. But will the Panthers do it? Who knows? I don't think you'd have to pay Evero insane money. You could hire an offensive coordinator who are a little more expendable than a head coach, or you could throw different people in the offensive coordinator. I don't want to call them expendable, but in the tier, the head coach is a more important job. So I don't know. I don't know what the Panthers do. A lot of former Panthers are balling out across the league, so I'm just interested to see what's going to happen. So I got my ears to the streets. I'll definitely keep you updated on the Panthers news as it comes. But it's the off season. The Panthers have nothing else going on until next August or September, whenever the season starts. I'll have to get ready for minicamp and the draft and all that kind of stuff. But not going to be light on the Panthers news most likely. So maybe I'll just talk about some other NFL happenings of the playoffs as they go along. So. Yesterday, the Texans beat Flacco, so C.J. Stroud is balling outrageously and winning playoff games now, and just a little bit sadness there that the Panthers don't have him. I don't know if the same result would be going on with the Panthers. I don't really think it would, but he seems like he is an elite quarterback. He beat Flacco, so shout out to Flacco and his good run. Pretty awesome. I don't know if they're going to be trying to bring Flacco back now, especially with all the money they have owed to Deshaun Watson, but it's possible Flacco could have earned himself a job elsewhere. I don't know if he'd take a backup role, but it seems like Flacco might be in the league next year still, so that'll be fun to see what's going on there. And then the Chiefs beat the Finns last night. Patrick Mahomes really did a Patrick Mahomes kind of game, and the Chiefs defense is really looking great too. So Chiefs won pretty easily in that game. And then Houston won pretty easily in the game against Flacco. So the games yesterday were a little bit of a dud as far as competitiveness. And today we have the Packers at the Cowboys, and friends of the show, Pab and King Tut, are going to that game in Dallas. That's pretty fun. They're out there cheering for the Cheeseheads, though. So we'll see how that goes. And then the Rams and the Lions. The Rams are at the Lions for the evening game. So Matt Stafford going back to Detroit, and then Jared Goff hopefully getting... for him and the Lions getting revenge on the team that traded him. So pretty epic matchups today. Going to be looking for Pab and King Tut, possibly Dom, I guess, on the broadcast today. So it'll be fun to watch them. The Pack and the Cowboys, and then Rams and the Lions later in the day. I don't really know who I'm going for in that game. I think I'm going for the Lions, actually. So we will see. So let's get into my favorite team in the world, official sport of the show. That's baseball, and that's the Atlanta Braves. So talk about the news in the offseason. Brave season doesn't start till March 28th. People should report to camp in a few weeks, so, baseball season is going to be coming in hot relatively soon. But the only news the Braves have announced in the prior week really are the Alex Anthopoulos extension, I believe, until 2031. So I'm a big fan of Alex Anthopoulos. I think he's done a great job with the roster. They won a World Series under his tenure, and I have nothing bad to say about Alex Anthopoulos. I'm glad we locked him down for more years. And I would like to see a Max Fried extension next. Now that he's locked in, hopefully he can sign Max Fried to the same term that he's in. Give him it's maybe a 7-year deal. Why not? Give him a 7-year deal. However many millions he wants. And make the all of Braves Nation happy. So nothing else to report for the Braves, really, besides the Alex Anthopoulos extension. They made the Chris Sale trade. And just getting ready for the season is the main thing. Looking forward to that starting. I'm pretty excited about the lineup, obviously, and then the rotation I'm pretty excited and hopeful for, too, as well. So really looking forward to the start of baseball season. Right now, just have the final of football season. And, Michigan's the college football champion. Have some basketball going on right now. Not too much going on for my teams, the Hawks and the Hornets. So not too much there, but I've been watching some NBA a little bit. I watched a little bit of Giannis and Dame last night and been watching some of the games on like TNT and NBA TV. But sports world, pretty much in a wait for the baseball season now with the Panthers being out. It's pretty sad there. And I guess this is the start of the really big drought for me as a sports fan. So Miscellaneous Talk section, we're going to talk sports every week because that's what I like to do. But I might possibly need to think of some other topics to get us across the bridge here to the Holy Land of having baseball come back. So can't really wait for that. It's going to be awesome. But hey, we got to enjoy the off season as well and enjoy some of the speculation and there's some fun in that too. So, always stuff to talk about. I love the worldwide world of sports and I can't really think of anything else. I'm going to watch the sports today. I think there's some games tomorrow on Monday, which is really cool too. Tomorrow's MLK Day, so I don't have to work my normal job. So I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for MLK and the day to honor him and be off work. It's really exciting and a great break to start the new year. It's always a welcome day for me to have off because you have the new year and then you get into the flow of the new year and then you're just like, man, I have a whole year ahead of me. So it's nice to get an early quick break and get a sip of water or whatever it may be on. If it's a marathon, get a little water, get a bite of something and have a break and have a moment and then back to it. So that is going to wrap up the final section of this show. That's been the Miscellaneous Talk section. We talked about the first book of the year I'm trying to read is Defiant by Brandon Sanderson. We talked about the Carolina Panthers and the other NFL playoff stuff going on since the Panthers aren't involved in that. We talked about the Atlanta Braves, the number one team in the universe, and Alex Anthopoulos extension. So we're just waiting for baseball season to start, but watching for the rest of the offseason and trying to see who else is going to get signed out there across the league. We talked a little bit about the Hornets and the Hawks. So just a really great Miscellaneous Talk section and hopefully just a really great Dep Lewis Show episode as a whole. So that's going to wrap up the entire show. I want to reiterate some of my promotional stuff from the beginning. So if you could please follow Dep Lewis Show everywhere. Like, subscribe, rate, comment, review, turn on notifications, tell a friend. Email any questions or feedback to DepLewisShow@gmail.com. Full episodes of Dep Lewis Show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, YouTube, Patreon, and more on my Buzzsprout page. So basically anywhere podcasts are available. Clips are on YouTube and TikTok. Twitch.tv/DepLewisShow is a great place to follow. And then Patreon.com/DepLewisShow is the ultimate place to follow. I'm going to tell you about that now, a little bit extra. It's $1 a month for the ground floor tier for the first 100 patrons. With this tier, you will gain access to an additional weekly podcast exclusive to Patreon called the Dep Lewis Freestyle Show, and that's very fun to do. This podcast releases midweek, usually on Wednesday, and it's a great way to get additional content and support the show. And Patreon also has ad-free versions of any Dep Lewis Shows off video, anything posted, all the audio posted ad-free on there, which is nice. And after the first 100 patrons, the regular price for this tier will begin. So ground floor tier pricing will never change, and you will gain access to all Dep Lewis Show content always. So a great investment for now, and a great investment for your entertainment future. And just thank you for listening. Thank you for supporting the show in any way you do. So please listen to the Dep Lewis Show every Sunday, and then subscribe to the Patreon to listen to the Dep Lewis Freestyle Show midweek and exclusive to Patreon. And that's usually just a podcast without a plan. I just hit the mic and go. I peruse the internet. I talk about whatever I feel like in the middle of the week, and it's just a great little burst of entertainment for in the middle of your week. So, and it can be more random than this main show mainly talks about video games. That's the main mission of this show, is to tell you about the video games I'm playing, which are hopefully interesting to you, and then tell you about the cool video game news that I see going around the industry, bring that to you every week, and then get some miscellaneous talk in there, usually some sports talk. So it's just me telling you about this show again, but I am a new podcast, so I got to try to say these things as much as I can to make what I'm doing clear. So just thank you for listening to the show. I really hope you have a great week out there. I hope you become rich. I hope you play some video games. I hope you have some time off work. I hope you make a new friend. I hope you get married. I hope you get a new puppy. I hope, what are other things great things that can happen to people? Hope you go on vacation. I hope you go somewhere cool. Hope you get a new car. Hope you buy a new video game. I just hope something great happens to you this week, and I'll be back next week for another episode of the Dep Lewis Show. As always, the show is here every week, once a week on Sunday, talking about video games and much more. And I appreciate you, and just thank you for listening, and I'll be back next week for another episode of the Dep Lewis Show.